Spectrum News 1 presents LA Times The Envelope Roundtables, brought to you by the Netflix original series Ozark, for your Emmy consideration.
My name is Yvonne Vieira with the Los Angeles Times, and we're here today with some of the actors of your favorite TV shows to talk about their craft. Thanks so much for being here. It's a pleasure talking to you guys. I feel like each of you are on such distinct shows. It really shows the breadth of TV that is out there. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on where we're at with TV right now? What are the benefits and the drawbacks of there being so much content out there right now?
It's nothing but great. It means you get to do oddball, quirky stuff, and there's a place for it. Look, before I did all this years ago, I did a lot of comedy, and Mr. Show was a show I did with my friend David Cross, and it was...
That guy sucks, okay? Let's just be clear.
Oh, boy.
If I ever meet
Sorry,
him, if I ever meet that guy...
We're off to a really good start.
It's such a wonderful time to do all these shows, to get to do all these different shows and not need to capture everybody in the audience at once, but have, these different outlets, and they don't mind gathering an audience over years of time, and it's wonderful.
This time next week, I will once again be James McGill, Esquire. Yes. And I already got a jump on my new practice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Unexpected bonus of the drop phone business. It turns out it's great for client development.
Yes, I guess that's true.
Sooner or later, every last one of those idiots is gonna need an attorney. Of course, they all know me as Saul Goodman.
What's with details?
Television was always ahead of its time, I think, in terms of women, people of color. But I think now it's on fire. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of content, but it's good.
And it truly feels like a golden age to me. Somebody who grew up in the 70s and, Norman Lear was really important to our culture as a whole. And, I learned a lot from interacting with TV in that way. And I feel like there's a lot of those kinds of shows and that kind of programming again. And, we get to be artists who have the capacity to change hearts and minds, which is, I don't know, that's why I do it. So it's great.
We detected antibodies in your blood.
Yeah, you have to run the test again. It could be a false positive.
I can assure you we ran it twice. The results were the same. You're HIV positive. I'm sorry.
This is the moment that I dreaded most. Dodged it for years. And now the son of a bitch has finally caught up with me.
Well, does it make deciding what you want to take on next harder because you just don't know what might be next? Like, there's so much stuff out there.
Yeah, but I think that the desire to do interesting, cool stuff is so much stronger than trying to pick a hit, which is impossible anyways, ridiculous.
You can't predict it, I don't think at all.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it more special, I think, because people always used to say about Killing Eve, did you know that it was going to be as big as it was? And you can never predict that because of the content that's out there, but I think it makes it even more special when that happens, and I think people are hungry for something.
Sometimes when you love someone, you will do crazy things.
It's also maybe different what a hit is nowadays, right? I mean, I don't think any of us are on shows that are like, no one gets MASH numbers, you know? Or
Nobody gets
the
those
window.
numbers.
Friends, or, you know, like there are so many different places you can get your content that the number is lower that constitutes a hit, and by consequence, the content can have some more angle on it. It lets us do stuff that's slightly more challenging and interesting.
You do realize that you're betting everything on being able to pull this off?
Yeah.
Look me in the eye and tell me that you've never lied to us about anything. Have you killed other people? We do not kill people.
Okay, guys, that's it. Please, to school, learning. These people that we work for, we used to think that we were different than them.
A distinctive show will draw you to these platforms, and it's something worth talking about. So an audience that really gets something really special that is just really resonates with them, really impacts them, is worth more than anything, because there's so many outlets. So anything that gets you going to these different places. So they're investing in distinctive programming. It's the best.
But I do think we are on the precipice of fatigue. I do think there's a lot. There is a lot. And
I know, but people have been saying that for like 2 or 3 years, and I think you're right. There'll probably be a watershed moment or some turn, but I'm not sure.
Not yet. We're not quite there, but
I'm
think.
not sure.
But it is exciting, and it is. You know, there are so many shows,
and we get to work.
And if that's for actors, it is a heyday right now.
That is not what you're wearing to the party, is it?
It's a barbecue and I'm wearing jeans.
It's not a barbecue, and you're in all black. On Calhoun Day?
Well, I'm not really a part of it.
Well, folks don't understand that, Camille. You're under my roof. Field trip to find you something appropriate. Let's go.
How do you think it would be if you were trying to break out now?
If I was trying to break out now? No, I know how it would be because I'm watching it. You know, I'm seeing the people who are like me walk through the doors that I kicked down. I feel blessed enough to be also able to walk through the doors that my generation kicked down. As a black out gay actor, there wasn't anything to do.
Right.
You know, we talk about authenticity. The first thing they say in acting school is you have to be authentic. That's how you be a good actor. Then they turn to the gay boys or the gay people and say, except y'all, you gotta fix yourself. So 20 years of my career, I'm like,
Well, you did
I
Kinky.
guess I'll be. That was in the
unbelievable in Kinky Boots.
Yeah. You're very sweet, but that was.
I still, it's one of the greatest performances of everything. But it did. That helped.
Yes, yes, but it was the build. It was the 25 years before that.
I know.
You know that, and it's not a complaint. It's just the truth. You know, you stay in it, you work, and you exist inside of your authenticity, even when nobody cares and nobody's listening, because ultimately, it can turn around. It has turned around, and it's such a great time. It really is a beautiful, beautiful time. I'm so glad I lived long enough to be here to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's great. That's what I think is important, is that the underserved really keep rising.
Yeah.
A lot of white people, we've had a lot of time. We've had a lot of shows. I do think it's important that we tell better, newer, different stories and continue on that path.
I don't know why we're packing. You're coming right back here.
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
What about the dishes?
Only what's most important. Shipping to Iran is expensive. Maybe whoever moves in next would want the rest.
If it comes to that, I'll get you a good price.
You'll give it to Hamid's parents for Sammy?
Of course.
I know you are an extraordinary person. Exceptionally bright. Determined. I know something happened to you. I know you're a psychopath.
You should never tell a psychopath you're a psychopath. It upsets them.
Are you upset?
What scared you about the roles that you guys are currently in? Like Jodie, like playing this character of Villanelle who's just ruthless, but she's got such a wit about her.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting. What scared you about playing this character?
I think what scared me the most was the tone of the show. There was this constant humour undercutting the dark moments. And Phoebe and Harry Bradbury and Damon, the directors, they always encouraged me to take risks and really kind of push moments, which sometimes felt unnatural or maybe a little bit more than what I would usually do. And I remember before it came out and I thought, oh God, like she could be a complete caricature and I could have totally overplayed this. So I think the most daunting part for me was getting that tone right and making sure that the audience could still find truth in her and it be authentic but and believable, but also kind of outrageous and bold at the same time. So that was my biggest.
I mean, because straight out of the gate with that scene in the ice cream parlor or like the diner, she just knocks over that kid's
And the child.
Yeah, but that's what I loved about it, because I was like, wow, here's this woman who, like, I've thought about doing that before. I haven't done it because, you know, that's a bad thing to do. But she's kind of fearless and she doesn't apologize for it. And I think that's what people have enjoyed living through her, is like this fearlessness. Yeah.
Jason, for you, what scared you about Ozark?
The character itself is someone who I'm comfortable playing, in that I like to play characters that are close to the audience, that is sort of us, somebody that you might be able to kind of tether to without, you know, tying yourself into knots, so that I can kind of help shape kind of a vicarious experience for the audience.
Morty, stop. We have to call the police.
I want you to forget it, okay? Or do you want to just role play it? Okay? I'm Detective whoever the and you're the wife of the top money launderer for the second largest drug cartel in Mexico. Go. I mean, come on. Policeman jail time or witness protection program, the best if we even get that far.
If we make it that far, the kids and I are in danger.
Huh? What do you want to hear? You know, people who drive trucks full of cash onto scales to weigh it because there's too much to count, they don't exactly have a code of ethics that they adhere to. We're not going to the police.
This was more of a challenge for me as a director and as a producer to oversee something. And I knew that I'd be really making myself nervous with that, because it kind of had this kind of moody sense about it and this dread kind of thing that I was trying to build. And so I thought, well, if I can have a hand on the steering wheel in front of the camera and one in the back, I might be able to hit a tone more accurately than if I have to, you know, try to figure out what to say to an actor that might get me in a tone that I need to be as the face of it, and also with the camera and all that stuff. So that was sort of something I was excited about taking on, but knew it would be a challenge.
Well, Patricia, your character in Sharp Objects, I mean, she's a mother who's inflicting trauma on her daughters, and someone who clearly has suffered some trauma. I mean, talk about like the tightrope of, you know, not having that, or maybe it just automatically does seep into your own life. Like, how do you detach yourself?
Yes, I mean, it is sadly a case of cyclical generational abuse and violence, and it was a tough beginning, and I knew it would be, but I had to approach her without any judgment, and oddly with, as corny as it sounds, love and no fear. A woman who feels she is the best of mother in the world.
You can't get close. That's your father. And it's why I think I never loved you. You were born to it. That cold nature. I hope that's some comfort to you.
The whole time I was shooting Sharp Objects, I never, ever stepped in my New York apartment as Adora. I never went home. Thank God my dog was here. I never went home. I never brought her into my And I'm still happy about that. But once I got the nails off, the hair extensions, I've let her go, but I still care for her. I still am very happy I was a part of that story. So I don't have no regrets, but I've moved on. Yeah.
Billy, your character was created for you in Pose, right?
Yes.
Talk about that, how that happened. Because you auditioned for a different character, right?
Yes, I got the call for Pose right after having a nervous breakdown the day before. Literally having a showbiz nervous breakdown the day, but I can't do this anymore. I was with my sister. You know, literally pulling the car over like, I'm done. You know,
Can you relate to that?
Yeah. You know, and the call came the next day, and you know, I'm a true believer in speaking into existence what you want, and you know, I wasn't having a whole lot of luck crossing over from theater into film and TV, lots of dismissal, dismissive energy surrounding what I do, what I bring, whatever. But I started saying a few years prior, looking at the landscape and going, well, who would get me? Who's in the show running position? Who can get me? The man or the woman who can give me the gig? Who can do that? And Ryan Murphy came up, and I just went, Ryan Murphy, started typing him in my journal, started saying him in my prayers, started speaking. So when the phone rang and they said, Ryan Murphy Pose, and it's set in the LGBTQ ballroom culture, I just started laughing. I was like, okay, God, or universe, or whatever we call, okay. And then I looked at it, and they called me in for the wrong part. I was like, it's all good. I'm gonna learn this part, and then I'm gonna have a little conversation with Alexa Fogel, the casting director. I can do that now. I got a Tony, I got a Grammy, I'm 47, they'll listen to me. They won't think I'm overstepping my bounds. You know, they won't think I'm arrogant. So let me go in, prepare what they've given me, and then we'll have that conversation. So it was all of the producers, all of the writers in one room together at the same time. And I just started talking about my life he asked me about my life, and I did the declarations, and Pray Tell came out of that.
So y'all know that every year this is a hotly contested award, but this year the voting was unanimous. The recipient has taught us that a house is much more than a home. It's family. And every family needs a mother who is affirming, caring, loyal, and inspiring.
It's an extraordinary journey because I spent so much time feeling like I needed to fit in. I needed to change myself to exist in this world. And here I am 30 years into this business, and it's exactly where I need to be. It's exactly the role that I need to have. It's exactly the expression of creativity that is fully inside of my artistic and authentic wheelhouse. And it blows my mind, it takes my breath away, and I'm just happy to be here among all my idols.
How many of you had a backup plan, or did you give yourself a deadline for whatever, like, I need to meet a certain goal by this time? Lorraine, what was it like for you coming up?
No, I insisted when I declared I was going to be an actor, I was 11. And I was a kid from Trinidad, and all my family thought I was insane because there was no one else in the family who envisioned anything close to that. I intentionally did not give myself something to fall back on, because I said to my family at the time, if I have something to fall back on, I will fall back.
Yeah.
I don't intend to fall back.
Hello? You dressed? I got a box of your decorations out of storage. We are gonna cheer this joint up.
I appreciate the effort, Patricia, but I don't feel like decorating.
Okay, how can I say this? Your sadness is dripping through my ceiling. So, you are going to deck your halls And then you're gonna make your gingerbread cookies for my party, which you will attend with bells on.
I lost my gingerbread making partner.
She's not lost. She's just exploring her independence.
At 26 weeks pregnant with some random street kid.
Who is really cute and talks like a character from My Fair Lady.
All of these eggs are in this basket. I have to make it. I have not given myself any other choice. And I knew, I also came up at a time in this industry when the gift of it was, the glory of it was to be a long distance runner. It wasn't about the moment. And so I knew that I was just gonna be in it until I dropped. And some 40 years later, 40 plus years later, I'm still in love with it. I'm deeply, passionately in love with it. I'm so grateful that I'm still relevant in a business where one has to work so hard at being relevant. So the role to go back to the question, the role I'm doing now is one of the simpler ones I've done. I've played psychopaths and those are fun. For the character I'm playing now, Patricia, one of the fears I had, because she's emotionally at the center of my wheelhouse, she's a big-hearted girl, she cooks, she's barefooted, she's kind of zoftically sexy, and she's got a man, she likes, and all of that good stuff, but she's got cancer.
I found some books in the bathroom, books about cancer. Is Ron sick?
No, honey, I am. Look at me. I'm gonna be fine. And as long as we're sharing secrets, I'd like you to tell me the real reason that your father is upset.
I'm in love with a girl.
The interesting thing about TV is you're playing a character often for a long stretch of time. With that comes the maybe drawback of people not being able to see you as a different character or shake the character out of their head. Bob, you've been playing Saul Goodman, Jimmy McGill for, he's been in your life for about 10 years now.
Well, there's a lot of variety within that character.
Yeah.
But are you saying, am I concerned that I'll be spocked?
Well, that and for yourself,
I don't really care. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is probably a concern maybe for a younger actor, but not for me.
Are you kidding me? I just referred a client to you guys. You're welcome, by the way. And you're telling me this place is falling apart? Get your together, Howard.
Excuse me?
Oh, please. You suffer one little setback and you're gonna let your entire legacy go?
One little setback?
Fine. Your pain is very special. Woe is you. Just stop wallowing, okay? This place is all you've got. That and your hair, which, let's face it, clock's ticking there too, so. You wanna save your business? You wanna save your dignity? You're gonna have to fight. Hey, you're a lawyer, Howard. But you're a great salesman. So get out there and sell.
I'm thankful to have such a wonderful role, and it works for so many people. And I do think it's a rich role with many sides to it. He can be a very earnest character, and the depths of his soul can be revealed and shown in scenes, and he can be very honest. And then, of course, he can be this con man who's fun to play. The first thing we talked about when we talked about doing this spin-off show from Breaking Bad as this character was how do you make him likable? I mean, he's funny to watch from a distance, but you don't want to be near that guy, and you don't really want to root for that character who you saw in Breaking Bad. He's an awful guy, and he's a user and a con man and selfish, and then they really went all in on making him incredibly likable and down to earth and needy and kind of fractured and delicate almost inside, and you feel bad for this guy. I mean, they did a wonderful job. That's all the writing.
Well, but it's also such a compliment to you that they knew that they could, that your version of that character had legs because of your ability to show humanity and a range and all that kind of stuff.
Well, thanks for the compliment, buddy.
True. I mean,
I don't know.
There's a one-dimensional version.
It's real nice
of
that they
character.
trusted me with that. And I was very thankful, and you spoke so eloquently about acting and your journey and the way you look at it. And I do relate to the notion of all in. I mean, when I read these scripts, I thought, well, there's only one way to do this. I can't maintain some kind of comic, ironic distance that I've done my whole life. In comedy, you can play a scene, depending on how broad it is, you can almost laugh, and they sometimes do laugh. The actor will laugh at what they're doing, and the audience doesn't care. That's fine. You're liking it too. That's great. Keep going. And the only way to do this guy was completely give up yourself and kind of surrender to the moment and be all the feelings that were written on the page and sacrifice your own sense of the moment and leave it be and just be that.
But I think that's all of us sitting here today. I think we all had to be all in these characters, or they would not. We wouldn't be sitting here, I don't think.
Another man is dead.
People make choices, Wendy. We don't have to live under the weight of those decisions.
We know that Marty Bird launders millions of dollars a year for the Navarro cartel. What we need to know is how he does it.
Marty will use you up and spit you out.
You're a businessman, not a killer. Have you killed other people? We do not kill people.
Okay, guys, that's it.
Weirdest or strangest note you've gotten about your performance, either from a director, a fan, a peer, and then for you, Jason, after answering that, how has being a producer and a director informed the way you approach actors to give a note about their performance?
Well, the weirdest, most humbling note I got was when I was 20 or something like that. I was a very lucky hire. I got to work with Katharine Hepburn in a movie of the week, and I was playing like her driver, And this one scene I had to break down and cry in front of her, and she did 2 or 3 takes, and I'm working real hard, really trying to squeeze them out, And she said in the middle of the take, she stopped. She said, "Stop acting," and I said, quit? She said, no, just in the scene. Just say it. Just say the lines. Yeah, and so that was, I'll never forget that. And she's right. And then as far as directing, how, I think the question was how being an actor, does that affect how I give an actor a note? To what you were saying about watching, I'm the opposite. I actually do watch a lot of what I do to try to figure out what I'm not doing as well as I think I'm doing, because sometimes depending on the size of the shot, I might be playing, nervousness down here with drumming fingers and, they're in here. And so there's a cocktail of things that need to kind of support the internal decisions that you're making.
What we're not going to do, though, is panic, okay? We're just gonna prioritize and we're gonna compartmentalize, and there's gonna be a little bit of time management, okay? All right, starting first thing tomorrow morning after we tell the kids that we're moving, we're gonna call your friend Linda, the realtor, and we're gonna list the house. And then you're gonna call a moving company. And then you and the kids are gonna pack. You can either help them or just let them do it themselves. I don't really care, but come Friday after school, we're on the road, okay? That's it.
Oftentimes I'll take some of that kind of director crap to an actor and say, for instance, if somebody's being too big, let's say, I'll let them know that we're in here and we're basically tight enough to read your mind. So just think what you're playing as opposed to showing us what you're playing, and we're tight enough to see that.
I think there's so much power in good direction. I feel like that can change everything. I think that's the most important communication on a set. I know from directors who I've worked with, it's been really great, and other times when it hasn't so much, and then I thought, oh wow, do I rely too much on a director's input? But for me, that's the most enjoyable part of being on a set is that like communication and that playfulness. And I think when you get a clear note, I feel like it can just change the whole direction of a scene.
Billy, do you have a story, an anecdote of an interesting note you've gotten?
Yeah, I was doing a Broadway show recently, but I was singing a blues number in this particular piece. And the director said to me, sometimes I think that your musicality and your muscularity, your musical muscularity can obscure the emotional moment. And I try again, because I know that there's a good note in there, but it doesn't have to come with an attack on exactly what you hired me for. You hired me to stop this show, and now you're mad because I'm doing that. There's a really good note in there, and I want to hear what it is. So figure out what it is that you need, and I will totally give it to you. Really, for real. But I'm going to blow the roof off the joint at the same time.
Did you figure it out? Did you sort it out?
Yeah. We sorted it out, and the note came, the correct note came, and I was like, great. That's easy to do. That's a note that's active and not attacking my talent. You know, sometimes the note is not coming from a loving place. Sometimes it's not coming from a place that's about caring for you. You know, and as a director, now that I do that as well, I actually do know how to do that. So I know that you can actually give me a note that doesn't attack me.
Are there things that you won't do? Is there a line that you draw? Like, has there been a moment in a script where you're like...
Go watch YouTube. I've done everything.
But you're like, I'll do just about everything?
Oh, you know, it's sometimes... the only thing is what anybody might say, which is... especially now, our show is in its 5th season, and you kind of start to get to know the character more. In the first season, they throw stuff at you, and you go like, well, I don't know, sure, we're figuring this person out.
Somehow in your mind, the only measure of my feelings for you is some office?
I'm good enough to live with, to sleep with, but God forbid you should have an office with me.
What are you I just told you
You get a little bored with your life, so you come down and roll around in the dirt. Have some fun with Slippin' Jimmy.
Oh, is it fun? Fun like standing there with a smile plastered on my face while you play infantile mind games on my law partner.
Oh, what a mistake it was to take me up to your office in the sky. You'll never do that again.
Yeah, maybe I won't. And maybe next time you call, I won't come.
There you go. Kick him in when he's down.
It's actually a little bit of a challenge now, and this is true for our whole cast, is sometimes it's just defensiveness because you like these people and you want to champion them. They're you're them. Even when they're kind of bad, you're kind of on their side. You know why they do things now. But there's a little more of a feeling of like, the whole I wouldn't do this or he wouldn't do this. When we said that in the first season, it was like, well, what do you know? You don't know this person yet. But now we feel like we know them, so the choices and the moves and the character that feel like they miss a step, that's the hardest thing. And then you talk to the writer and hopefully find an emotional bridge to that moment, or they write something in or find a way to help you play it so that you don't feel like you're truncating the person in some way, who they are.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting challenge as an actor to look at something on the script that is something you could never imagine doing, or you can't imagine an audience having any sort of empathy or sympathy or understanding or relatability. As you said, if a writer has either a strategy with the writing to find that bridge to what's the human part of this person where they felt justified doing it, or if it's not written, they're open to letting you as an actor show that crack of doubt, or the character is somewhat guilty or contrite about doing it,
or appalled at their own behavior.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing to play. We've seen murderers, on screen that are conflicted, or it's because of some terribly abusive thing that they went through. Not to excuse their behavior, but it's an interesting thing for an audience to somewhat either barely to be shocked that you're barely empathizing with that person. Like it's an interesting place to be as an audience, and it necessitates kind of a partnership between the acting and the writing. That's a fun challenge for actors, I think.
But you also have to be a little careful about being too defensive about your part,
it's
right?
like the balance. I sometimes find in the past I've done it and it's come from a place of insecurity of me not being a bit, oh, I don't really want to do this. I'm like, oh, I think she'd do this. And it's like the balance of knowing when it actually isn't right and when you're trying to, I don't know, for me, when I'm trying to maybe shy away from something that if I just give it a go,
or you're taking something on because you generally think the writing is not the right. It's not, I don't want to say it's not good. It's just not right for the moment. That's what you don't want to do. But I don't know that there's anything I wouldn't do if it's in the character.
And you have to be brave.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. There are things that I do now as an actor that I never thought I would do.
You had your first nude scene, right? For Orange is the New Black?
Did.
Yeah.
Oh, over 50. It's so nice to
They're
be.
running out right now. They just cut and now they're back. Great scene. That was awesome. Good for you.
I found myself trying to get out of it. How many? We don't need it. How many ways can I get out of this? And when you have the ear of the producers or the writers, you know that when you speak, they'll actually listen. So I was trying to figure out, how can I get out of this? I mean, how can I unjustify this? And is there a way to do this dressed?
Yeah.
In some way.
She would keep her shirt on.
She could
She would
be
keep
in
her
lingerie.
panties on.
She's standing behind a
or
pole.
something behind a pole. Something. I do all the time. And then the actor was, oh God, 20-something, thank God. Good news, bad news. God,
I had a romantic kissing scene in the last episode of Pose, and it wasn't until the day before that I realized I've never kissed anybody romantically in anything ever in my career at all.
Wow.
I have never been the object of affection anywhere in anything at all.
I miss him. I loved him. Oh, I loved him. But we are living in a world where all of us could truly be gone one day. Where our kind is just a memory, one the rest of the world would be happy to forget. All we have left is right now. I don't know how soon, till I'm in a box on the end table of some crying man's bed. But until then, that love and that promise are who I claim to be.
So here I am with my gay ass. And once again, this kid walks onto the set and I'm like, young man, how old are you? And he was like, why do you ask? I'm like, I need to know how old you are before I'm kissing up on you on national television. He was in his 20s. And I literally was shaking. And I had been through the season. I'm daddy on the show, category it. And I'm on the set. And everybody's like, are you okay? I was literally like shaking. And this boy was cute. I'm like, now I really can't take it back. Because now I'm, not that I was ever going to take it back, but mama's going to see this, the neighborhood's going, now I'm really gay. Like, I'm really gay. I was gay before, but now I'm kissing. I'm gay now. I'm kissing boys.
Gay.
Kissing all these boys on national television. What you do, it was like
the church people are seeing
oh my
you.
goodness,
Oh, baby.
because I've been able to sort of circumvent all of that, being in the theater, because they don't go to the theater, but now I'm on television, and it's like, Billy's on television and he's kissing boys.
Your mama's gonna be called.
I was like literally shaking, and you can see it when you see it. It's very sweet because it's very vulnerable and it's being brave, and the character needs to be brave, and it's in the moment, so it worked in the moment, but it's really. It was a turning point for me. It was a turning point.
I'm curious, have you guys ever gone back or what's the IMDb credit that you're like, I don't remember doing that, or I can't believe I did that.
Yes.
Like, I was going through some of yours. I had no idea you were on Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, yes.
And I watched
I
it.
loved it. That's a wonderful episode. Like, it was many, 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 many years ago, but with Richard Thomas.
Yes.
And, oh, God.
She witnesses a murder.
I witness a murder and I go mute.
She goes,
It's a big swing.
And it was, but it was an incredible experience. But I sometimes forget that I did. Don't you sometimes feel say, "Oh, I loved you."
I haven't
You're too
worked
young
enough to forget.
No, but I have movies that I forgot I was in.
Yeah.
You,
Many.
Jason? Do you have stuff like that?
There's a long list that I'm trying to expunge daily. Yeah, there's plenty of things that you know I don't like as much as some of the other things, and you know vice versa. But you end up learning a little bit from all of them, you know, because if you know we're all currently really lucky to be working with incredible crews and incredible writers and producers and directors.
Well, and you've been doing this since you were a kid. I mean, I had no idea you were on Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
Like, what do you remember about that?
You were on Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm finding that episode tonight. No,
Do you even remember? Like, do you remember being on that set?
Hugely, because it was a year, and it was you know adopted into that family, that Ingalls family, and Michael Landon was you know directing and producing and writing, and he was so supportive of everybody, and that whole group had been together since Bonanza, so this sort of familial dynamic that was on set was a great first experience for me to see, like, oh, this is how it's done, and you know, everyone's very kind with one another, and you can get 7 pages done in a day without screaming and yelling, and it was just a great first experience, and you know, something to always kind of look back on when inevitably you end up on a set that runs you know, a little bit
long,
less
I see.
Oh,
yeah.
kind.
Was Michael Landon really nice?
He was
What was he
the
like?
George Clooney of that day. I mean, you know,
okay.
people
So,
that, you
wow.
know,
Yeah.
guys wanted to be buddies with him, women wanted to know him, and crews just thought he was the greatest, and he's this multi-hyphen. I mean, he was just like, he was the coolest.
Yeah.
And super kind.
Wow, that's amazing. Is there? Do you have a story of your, if not the worst, your weirdest audition?
You know, actually, I do have an audition tale somewhat. It's weird because, like I said, I didn't do many auditions, and I was doing comedy, and occasionally I'd be called in for a lot of comedy sitcoms and things like that. And I kind of half know the script. I wouldn't know it that well, and I'd hold the script and do it. And then I was directing a movie, and Shy McBride auditioned, and he auditioned with like a 1.5-page monologue, and he didn't need the script, and he nailed it so great. He was right in front of me doing it as good as anyone would ever need to do. It was so wonderful. And when he walked out, I was like, oh, that's how you audition? Okay, so wow, right, okay. And I'm flashing back on me in all these rooms like, wait a second, wrong page. And that's, you know, and I say it from the other side of the table, really, from producing and directing. And one of the first things I noticed from helping create shows and stuff was you meant it. Like, they meant it. When you did great,
they
you
did.
really were great. But then when they put the ensemble together,
When they put it all
this
together,
person
yeah.
went with that person, and then you were out. And it was like, how do you tell the actor, no, I mean it. I really mean it. You were as good as you need to be. And you always feel like they think you lied to them, and it's just a shame. It's one of the hardest things about acting.
What's the greater fear? To be too comfortable with a character, or not to ever find your comfort with it?
Too comfortable, I think.
Yeah, probably too comfortable.
Yeah.
That's no good. That's not good.
But see, I think as actors, the more relaxed we enter into a set, not comfortable, but I think the more. That's why I think it's a shame we need to work more as we age, because we are more at ease with where we are, and we're not seeking to please and seeking to be something other than exactly what we need to be. And so I find that a certain calm on a set, a certain confidence, and a certain it tends to let you go any which way you want to go, as opposed to entering a set already acting and full of angst and already in a distressed place. I suppose you spent your day chatting it up to anyone who would talk to you. Work.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand how well you knew Anne.
I told you I did. How dare you question me in my own home? How dare you take advantage of Bob? Did you see him when you left? That man was practically quivering. He lost his daughter. You have no idea what that's like.
Well, I didn't mean to.
You never mean to do anything. And yet you cause so much hurt.
I think there's something about the element of risk that whatever that feeling it stirs inside me kind of spurs me on. As long as you don't let it kind of hold you back. There's something about that nervousness and that risk, I think, that actually propels me in a strange way.
Most of the time, most days, I feel nothing. I don't feel anything. It is so boring.
And that risk is a different thing for each person, or certainly it has been for me. You know, 5 years ago versus 5 years from now, I don't know what's going to scare me, but I know what scares me now and what did 5 years ago. And you know, like currently, just my favorite kind of acting is like what we were talking about before, about how, you know, like I got to lean into, like, try to read their mind to see what's going on, some of the smallest things possible. And if I am really comfortable in a character in that it's inside my goalposts, you know, it's a part of me as opposed to me trying to completely morph into somebody that's completely foreign for me, then that'll give me enough comfort to then be as small as possible because I understand a lot more about this version of that character. But I'm sure it'll change, you know.
But I think it's also very important that a director creates a conducive environment for you to actually be at your best, which is without limitations.
It's surprising that's not a requirement. I really feel like directors or producers or whoever has a privilege of leadership on a set, and it changes on every set, sometimes it's the lead actor, that it should be a requirement for that leadership position to create an atmosphere where everybody feels safe and everybody feels comfortable and, you know, pulling their pants down. I mean, that's what we're all doing. Whether you're a crew member or a cast member, you're giving it your all. You're trying to create something that everybody can relate to, which is a deeply personal goal. You know, what is real to me, and that's what I'm going to try to shape. Whether you're setting a stand or you're creating a shot or you're performing a line, it's all about trying to tap into the smallest parts of people. That's an intimate goal and effort. It takes an environment to draw that out of people.
Well, I thank you guys so much for being here. I feel like you guys should each teach a master class on acting. These are like some great stories. Thanks for taking the time with us today.
For having us.
Thank you for having us.
Spectrum News 1 presents LA Times The Envelope Roundtables, brought to you by the Netflix original series Ozark, for your Emmy consideration.